On the cusp of a major legislative victory, House Republicans crossing the finish line on tax reform, pushing the vote to the Senate floor. So do Senate Republicans have enough support to pass the legislation? Here now is Republican Senator Bill Cassidy. He's a member of the Senate Finance Committee. Senator Cassidy, Vice President Pence delayed a trip overseas in order to be there tonight in case there's a tie and he has to pass the vote that would push it over the finish line for you Republicans. Will he be needed?
He will not be needed. I think he's there to celebrate. And he's going to celebrate because we're cutting taxes for middle-income working families. We're going to set the stage for more economic growth. We do many other good things. We'll all be celebrating.
Well, that's what you say. Of course, it's not surprising that people like Nancy Pelosi say something else. Let me just play a soundbite from Nancy Pelosi and get your reaction.
This is the worst bill to ever come to the floor of the House, with stiff competition for what some of the things they've tried to do. The worst bill in history.
Senator, your response.
In history.
I gotta laugh. It's the worst bill for her because she's afraid that the American people will discover in their paychecks early next year that Republicans succeeded in cutting their taxes, which we did, and all of a sudden everything she's been saying will be proven a lie. The fact is that American people will see in their paychecks early next year lower withholding. They will understand that it really is working for them, and she doesn't particularly care for that. I'm very pleased.
Now, it's impossible to please everybody. I'm glad you're pleased, but there are some people that think the top rate should have come down much further. Some people are pleased or displeased with this or that, and I'm talking about just the Republicans now. Is it conceivable, and I brought this up yesterday with other senators and congressmen, that this could just be the down payment, if you will, on further tax reform like we saw in the 1980s when Reagan had one in 81 that kicked in 83 and another in 86? What do you think?
There could certainly be modifications going forward. Inevitably, there might be something, a loose end, if you will. On the other hand, the framework is sound. Again, we cut taxes for middle-income families and working families. We set the stage for economic growth so that they'll have more money in their paycheck, not just because taxes are lower, but because businesses are competing for their services, paying more in wages and benefits. Those are all good things. If we have to modify going forward, it'll be a modification on something which is basically very good.
All right. Well, the top marginal rate, as you well know, both with JFK and with Ronald Reagan, top marginal rate came down quite a bit. It hasn't in this bill. It's come down a little bit, but not a lot. Ronald Reagan had it down to 28% by the time he left office. Do you think it could get that low, or should it?
I did not think that his marginal rate went down that low. I can't say that for sure. But suffice it to say that the president was committed to a middle-class tax cut and making sure that our companies were not incented to move overseas. And so we've accomplished that. Now, as regards those at the upper income, their rates have come down some, but also the lower rates, for example, the top marginal rate kicks in at a higher number. So there's going to be a portion of their base which is taxed at a lower amount. So your net margin is lower than what it seems at the very top. Kind of a complicated response, but we do think that even those upper middle income families were able to do something good for.
I think I followed you in that. By the way, it did go down to 28% in the second tranche of the Reagan tax cuts. That's the 86 bill. But on simplification, that's one thing that you haven't been able to deliver, or at least maybe it's a little simpler. But frankly, looking at some of the details of the plan that when it was first announced that it's all going to fit in a postcard, I mean, that's out the window, isn't it?
No, David. 95% of families will not need to itemize. By doubling the standard exemption, 95% don't have to keep up with their charitable contributions. They don't have to figure out how much of that pair of underwear that I gave to Salvation Army is worth on my taxes. They don't need to, because doubling the standard deduction means they don't have to.
So, Senator, let me just put a fine point on this. You're saying that 95% of federal taxpayers will be able to put their tax returns on a single sheet of paper.
You know, I can't tell you what the form is going to look like. I know they won't need to itemize, and typically that itemization is that which is most complicated, and that eliminates that entirely.
Senator Bill Cassidy, good luck tonight. We'll be watching.